associated with the Feast of Hanukkah. And it's represented by the letters that are found on the dragon. And that saying is Nezgadol HaShem, which means a great miracle happened there in Israel. What the Father wants to do is to create within each and every one of us a culture in which it is no longer Nezgadol HaShem, but it is Nezgadol HaPo. A great miracle happened here. Not there, here. Not there, here.
Yes.
I am so thankful to be able to bring an interesting story to you today. And the story of Hanukkah. And, you know, it's a couple of weeks ago when I taught on the promises of God and the gifts of the Spirit. The next week, Dale said, you know, the next couple of weeks we're going to stay on this, we're going to stay on this. Now I found out I was going to be teaching at Hanukkah, and I'm like, well, Father, I guess I'm going to be taking a break from that. And he said, no, you're not. No, you're not. And he began to reveal to me, you know, and the last time we discussed things that may be lacking in us as to why we are in the culture of Nezgadol HaShem as opposed to Nezgadol HaPo. So we're going to look at Hanukkah in a little bit different light. We're going to look at it in the light of Yeshua, but with the boldness of a Maccabee. Or a Maccabee.
Unchained.
Unchained. Unchained. All right, for some of you, this is your first Hanukkah, right? Here, no, it's not your first Hanukkah? Second Hanukkah.
Third?
Seven, is this your first Hanukkah? This is your first Hanukkah. All right.
Well, that is true. We did.
Congratulations. Now we are celebrating a winter feast that Yeshua celebrated. So it's incredible. I mean, every year we learn something more from it. We learn something more. And we found out, you know, even though it's not in Leviticus 23, it's not a commanded feast, that there is still something for us to go in. Still something for us to go in. They say that for 400 years prior to the arrival of Messiah, the prophets were silent. No, they weren't. There were people living prophecy and never even knew it. And it was the people around the time of 160 to 170 before the common era. They were living prophecy. They weren't hearing it, but they were living. John 10 and 22 says this, and it was at Jerusalem at the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. And Yeshua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. It's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. If he celebrated it, I'm going to celebrate it. It is known as the Feast of Dedication, but it's also known as the Feast of Lights. And there's a lot of controversy regarding the miracle of the oil and stuff like that. So I'm not here to argue that. I'm not here to argue anything. But it's not about that miracle. It's not about the miracle of the oil burning for 8 days. If it happened or if it did. It's about another miracle. John 1:1 begins with this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. Regardless of whether or not that miracle of the 8 days burning of oil happened that gave Hanukkah the term Festival of Lights, the moment he stepped on Solomon's porch, it became the Festival of Light. Because the light of man stepped onto the porch of Solomon, and he began to teach. John 1 goes on to say, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. The same came for a witness to bear witness of the light, and that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness to that light. That was the true light. The true light, which lighted every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory is the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So who's the light of the world? Yeshua Messiah. He is the light of the world. When he came into this world as light, he came in to serve as an example for us. Because the Scripture says that, but as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Elohim, even to them that believe on his name. Sons of God. Sons and daughters of God. Are we walking in the potential that we have in him? Yeah. Are we capable? If the Word of God is truth, then yeah, we're capable. And it is truth. Matthew, 5th chapter, he says that we are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Did he give us light to illuminate ourselves? Absolutely not. He gave us light to shine in darkness, that we may be glorified. Oh no, that's not right. So God may be glorified. We have to remember what our purpose is on this earth. Our purpose, Kelley's purpose is not Kelley. That's not my purpose here. My purpose here is not to be me. My purpose here is to be an ambassador for him. To be an ambassador for him. To be a light as he was a light. To be life as he was life. To be life is to speak life as he spoke life. John 8:12 says, Then spake Yeshua unto them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. John 9:5 says, As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. John 1:50 says this, Yeshua answered and said unto them, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under a fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. Greater things than these. We know that the light and the life that he was did not end simply because he was crucified, dead, buried, and resurrected. But we saw that same light and that same life manifested in the lives of all of his disciples, of the apostles. We saw mighty miracles happen by their hand. We saw mighty miracles before Yeshua. Elijah the prophet raised a child from the dead, but because it was because of the light and the life that was given to him by the Father, and through him this happened. It wasn't because of anything he did. All he did was a willing and obedient vessel, which is what we're doing. And be a willing and obedient vessel, we have to be meek before God and bold before men. We have to have the boldness of a Maccabee, or a Maccabee. Interesting Jewish saying regarding Hanukkah. They tried to kill us, we won, let's eat. Thought that was interesting. But the truth of the matter is, they didn't win. God won. God won. Let's eat. So let's go to the backstory. Unless you have an apocrypha handy, you're going to have to follow along on the screen because we're going to be reading from 1 Maccabees, beginning with the first chapter. And we're going to learn about Antiochus Epiphanes, about the Maccabees, their attitudes and the things that they went through. And it's a very lengthy story. It covers 2 books, 1st and 2nd Maccabees. But we're going to get the abridged version. But this is important when we go through the details because what I'm hoping to do by the end of this is show that the spirit of Antiochus is still here. Beginning in verse 1, it says, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quieted before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and over nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and who had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death they all put on crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and the evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen. So we see a great deal of compromise taking place in the land of Israel during this time. Now the ruler during that period of time was this guy, Antiochus Epiphanes. The name Antiochus, of course, is Greek in origin, and the name means against, anti, the support, ochus. And Epiphanes actually means the glorious. So combined, it paints a picture of a rebellious and pompous person, and it's a type and shadow of the Antichrist. Now, when we link all those together, we can look at it 2 different ways. We can look at it as he was rebellious and puffed up, or we could look that he was rebellious against glorious support from on high. Now, if we begin to look at it both ways, we see that spirit of the Antichrist taking shape within this man. In the 15th verse it says, And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, and chariots, and elephants, and horsemen, and a great navy. And he made war against Ptolemy, the king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. And he entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and the vessels thereof, and the table of showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. And he took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels, also took the hidden treasures which he had found. And when he had taken all away, he went to his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoke very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and the elders mourned. The virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. After 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute into the cities of Judah, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. And they built the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored also with armor and victuals, and they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, and they had laid them up there, and so became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers, and became strange to those who were born in her, and her own children left it. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbaths and the festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they also should leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, and commanded the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for security. Now the 15th day of the month of Kislev, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. They burned incense at the door of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in the pieces the books of the law which they had found, they burned them with fire. And whosoever was found with any book of the testimony, or of any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. kind of a horrific picture being painted, isn't it? All the universe. The little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. A little bit of compromise will lead to absolute and utter destruction. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was great wrath upon Israel. There's always a remnant of people who are willing to stand up for the ways of God. When you stand up for the ways of God, you will suffer. But it is better to be judged here upon this earth than to be judged before Him. Now we get to Google. And in those days arose Matthias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, the priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Cadus, Simon, called Pasi, Judas, called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Ebron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apphus.
Tell me, why are their names being changed? Are they Greek?
Greek. Absolutely. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Her temple has become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, and her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom, and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she has become a bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end shall we live any longer? Then Matthias and his sons rent their clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came to the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Matthias also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Matthias on this wise, Thou art a ruler, and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with his sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Then Matthias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken unto the king's words to go from our religion, either to the right hand or the left. Now when he had left speaking those words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Maccabee, according to the king's commandment. And when Matthias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither did he forbear to show his anger according to judgment, wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner who compelled him to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus he dealt zealously for the law of God like Phinehas did unto Zambri the son of Salem. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whoops. He didn't say whoops, I'm sorry. Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. Let him follow me. And so it begins. What began as an act of rebellion by 6 men that refused to break the covenant of their fathers blossomed into a full-blown guerrilla war in 176 BC. Mattathias rallied the people of Israel, and their numbers increased with each victory to approximately 7,000 warriors near the end. Let everyone who is zealous for the law and who stands by the covenant follow me. The rebellion started in northern Judea, and they tore down pagan altars everywhere they found them, killing those that worshipped them, including Hellenized Jews. Mattathias died in 166 before the Common Era and left his son Judas in charge of the army. Now, oftentimes when we hear the story of the Maccabees, we get a very condensed version of it. We think this happened overnight with one battle, and that simply was not the case. The war actually took place over a period of 7 years. And here are the battles that were. The Battle of Wadi Haram. I better look here. Vision isn't what it used to be. The Battle of Wadi Haramiyah, the Battle of Beth Horon, the Battle of Emmaus, the Battle of Beth Zur, the Battle of Beth Zechariah, the Battle of Adasa, and the Battle of Elasa. So early in the revolt, Antiochus underestimated the strength and numbers and the intestinal fortitude, the guts of the Jewish rebellion. He just assumed they were peasants and had no war skills whatsoever, and they would be easy to crush. He actually sent a very small number of troops and his less learned generals in the battle the first time, and the Maccabees crushed them. Crushed them. And when word of this got back to Antiochus, he became very upset and then amassed 60,000 troops under his greatest general, Lysias. And because the Maccabees understood the terrain of the land, they had an advantage. And they began to pick off the Roman soldiers little by little, here a little, there a little, and just began to whittle their numbers down. Now, in the end, they were outnumbered 5-1, and they defeated a force of 60,000, 7,000 versus 60,000 over the course of several battles. The largest one actually opened the path for them to retake Jerusalem. They were met by Roman soldiers at the wall, at the gate of Jerusalem, and defeated them quickly. It was a very short battle. At that point, the Romans fled Jerusalem, and we think that's the end of the story. But in fact, that actually happened in 165. So that was 2 years into the war in which they retook Jerusalem and the temple, and the rededication of the temple began. War continued on for 5 years after that. In spite of the great victories that placed Jerusalem back into the hands of the Jewish people, the war raged on until 160 BCE. The revolt pushed the Seleucid Empire out of Israel completely. The only surviving son of Mattathias was Simeon, who died in 134 BCE. The rebellion costed that family everything, but the victory ensured that the Jewish people had the temple to worship Jehovah, and ensured that there was some remnant of covenant people for the arrival of our Messiah 163 years later. Had they not, he might have actually been named Eosus instead of Yeshua. Have you ever thought about that? Had the Maccabees not revolted, it doesn't mean the Messiah would have come. But by that time, by the time he would have come, you wouldn't have been able to recognize Israel from Greece. Everyone there would have been Hellenized. Does that mean the Messiah wouldn't come? It's not for me to say. But it's a pretty safe bet. He would have been a lot more like what he's portrayed in mainstream Christianity. He would have been a lot more Greek than Jewish. This is the miracle of Hanukkah. This is the fact that God gave power to 7,000 people, to 7,000 peasants. The story, the history of it says that Mattathias and Judas, that they went around about the countryside and recruited the strongest of the people of Israel to come and fight with them. But they still weren't Greek soldiers. But God gave them the strength, the guts, the audacity to think that they could win. To think that they could win. A phrase that has been bouncing around in my head over the last couple of weeks is relentless pursuit. Relentless pursuit. Meaning that you're going to go after what is precious to you regardless of the cost. That you're going to invest everything you have into pursuit of that one thing. Where is your pursuit? Shouldn't be in the things of this world. You shouldn't be for knowledge. You shouldn't be for power. The relentless pursuit of the living God is where we begin, and everything else is added to us. We are told to seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added. There's a very important reason that we are to have the boldness of a Maccabee in faith. It took a lot of guts for what started out as 6 people to think that they even stood a chance. Logic says that they should have been dead within a week. They weren't. They lived. They flourished. And because they had victory, small victories, people began to believe in them and what God was doing through them. And they began to join themselves in them, increasing their numbers, so they could go out and win larger victories. 1 John chapter 4 says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. Because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is not of God. This is the spirit of the anti-Messiah. Wherefore you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." When we were in mainstream Christianity, when we were a minority compared to the world, compared to Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, atheists, when you amass all of those other religions against mainstream Christianity begins to look fairly small. We listened. We wanted to be obedient. We heard the call to come into a more intimate walk with our Creator, into the great roots. And now in the scope of the world, there's a stain on a speck of dust. That's us. That's how small we are. But if he can do mighty and powerful things, starting with 6 people against 60,000 Greek soldiers, what can he do through us? What can he do? He is capable. He is willing. Daniel 9:25 says, "Know ye therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore, to rebuild, and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolation to determine. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week shall he cause sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured out upon the desolate. What we're seeing here is a multifold prophecy. In other words, we just read the story of when it happened the first time. Because everything that Daniel was prophesying here happened during that period of time in Israel. God came in, spoke peaceable words. There's your 7-year covenant. Broken in the middle by the abomination, makes desolate. They were overrun with the flood. But the thing is it's not, Dale said it before, it's not when a prophecy is fulfilled, but how often it is fulfilled. Because in Matthew 24:15, Yeshua said, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So he's telling us it's going to happen again.
Yes.
If we go to Daniel 7, beginning at verse 21, it says, I beheld the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them. Until the Ancient of Days come, and judgment was given unto the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of his kingdom are 10 kingdoms which shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and that they shall be given into his hand until a time of times and a dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. And all dominion shall serve and obey him. Fact. The people of the Most High will be attacked in the physical and spiritual realms. A couple of weeks ago when I said we're going to be pursuing spiritual gifts and manifestation of gifts in our life, what did I say was going to happen? You're going to be attacked. If you're pursuing the things of God, the enemy is going to try to cut you off the path. So, fact, you will be attacked in the physical and spiritual realm. Has anyone had sickness for the last week? Yeah. Anyone been attacked in the spiritual realm? Lisa, amazing testimony about Jared. If you could bring him next week, that would be fantastic. I've got plenty of fasciitis as well.
I'll pray for her.
Oh, I appreciate that. Fact, the closer we walk with the living and the written form, the more we will be hated by the world and the prince of this world. It's a fact. False. We are to be meek and lowly in the face of the enemy. We're to be meek and lowly in the face of our King. But we are to be bold in the face of the enemy. Truth. We are more than conquerors. This lesson is kind of confusing. Confused me as I was putting it together. I was like, well, I want to be talking about spiritual gifts and manifestations of them, but man, this is starting to sound like eschatology. It's starting to sound like a study of the end times. Now I realize it's neither of those things, but it's about spiritual warfare. the very fact that prophecy fulfills itself time and time again, we can look back to previous prophecy fulfillment and learn a little something from it. There's something that we can glean to use in this present age. Because you know what? If he is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, so is Hasatan. He attacked then, is attacking now, and will attack in the future. I find it interesting that he attacked physically in the story of Antiochus Epiphanes. And ever since, in these end times, since Yeshua was crucified, buried, and resurrected, up till the time that he returns, he attacks spiritually. But at the end, in that day, he will attack again physically. But we have to be, we cannot be fearful. He has not given us a spirit of fear, but a sound mind. What drives out fear? Perfect love. Perfect love. Well, if we're keeping the commandments, and the commandments teach us to do what two things, then I think we're well on the path of perfect love, right? We have nothing to be afraid of. Be strong enough for good courage. Spiritual attacks are going to come. There's nothing you can do to change that. But here's what we do know. The greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. And we are more than conquerors through him. We have no reason to be afraid. Instead, we hear from the Father. We stand up to the enemy. Because Scripture tells us that if we resist the enemy, does he just stand there? Does he attack all the harder? No. Scripture says that he flees from us. He goes away.
Kelley, in this country, we're not facing what you call physical, attacks. But in many countries, they are actually being killed for their faith. So
Absolutely.
they are. And then another thing, I was thinking about, this anti-Messiah. I know there's many that believe that it may not touch certain places in the world, but the Bible says that the world would wander after the beast. So I'm thinking and believing that it will affect the whole world. We all have that's still living, that's still on the earth at the time. We'll see many of these dreadful things. And we have to stand, and like you said, be bold and steadfast and unmovable in our faith. And as I was telling Lisa last week, just as we believe that, in healing and the things that the miracles and the things that we know and see that God does, that we also believe that He will be with us and that we can overcome, that we'll be overcomers.
Absolutely. Perfect. Because the enemy will hinder us at every opportunity. But whether it's in study of Scripture, he will hinder us because he'll bring about that little question and doubt that brings about confusion. In the pursuit of spiritual things, he will hinder us. He'll say that those aren't for the day. That you're not worthy of having the gifts of the Spirit manifested in your life. And it's a lie. Just as the Maccabees grew from 6 people to 7,000 people, they did it through victory and through testimony. And this is where I'm going with this. That for every single victory that we get, every single testimony that we have, we encourage someone to step alongside of us. And we grow in numbers. We grow in power. And I don't care how many the enemy has. That doesn't matter. Because if we stand locked arm in arm, there's no devil in hell that can touch us. Not to do us permanent harm, then he may make us miserable for a while, but we've never come there. Because greater is he. Greater is he. So speaking of the Maccabees, if we were to flash forward to the 6th chapter, the first book of Maccabees, it says, "Howbeit certain of them that were besieged," this is in Jerusalem, so we're talking about the Hellenized Jews and the Greeks, who were besieged in Jerusalem, got forth, unto whom some ungodly men of Israel had joined themselves. And they went unto the king and said, How long will it be ere thou execute judgment and avenge our brethren? We have been willing to serve thy father, and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments. For which cause they of our nation besiege the tower, and are alienated from us. Moreover, as many of us they could light on, they slew and spoiled our inheritance. So those Jews are messing up everything. We're scared. Neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. And behold, this day they are besieging the tower of Jerusalem, and to take it, the sanctuary also. And Bethsura have they fortified. Wherefore, if thou dost not prevent them quickly, they will do greater things than these. Neither shalt thou be able to rule. The more victories we get, the stronger we become, the greater we become in number, we're putting the enemy on his heels. Stop and think about that. If you've been sick, if you've been spiritually attacked, that's him on his toes, putting you on your heels. The attacks don't necessarily stop, but we can change the tide of battle. We can change the tide of battle by our attitudes, by having a Nizgadol HaPo attitude as opposed to a Nizgadol HaShem. Well, I heard so-and-so got victory over the enemy. I feel grateful, but man, I am just getting battered and battered and battered. By the power of our testimonies, by the power of our testimony, we can defeat him. Not for good. That's not our place. That's Yeshua's job. Yeshua defeats him for the final time. But we can defeat him in our day-to-day lives by simply taking a stand and having the attitude of a Maccabee. I make it sound a lot easier than it is, because if I were to stand here and say that, he doesn't scare me and he can't bother me and he doesn't affect my life, I'd be lying. But I know too that I also can't be afraid to come to a brother for help. Tell him, brother, I need you to pray for me. This is going on in my life. Because Scripture tells us that a cord of 3 strings is not easily broken. If I come to him, I'm praying, he's praying, and we've got Abba in the middle, how many can we put to flight? Yeah. Right. So just remember this. Though the Maccabees battled against physical power and the Seleucid Empire, our battle is not against flesh and blood. Ephesians 6 says, Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against easy for me to say, principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. To stand. Not on your heels, not on your toes, but on the balls of your feet. To stand in the face of the enemy and say, Sickness, you have no authority. Spiritual attack, you have no power. Because it is in this place, where I stand, that I will fight you nose to nose. And when it is done, I will say this could go out. Great miracle happened here. And it's not because of what I did, but because of what he's done through me. If we were to try to stand in the face of the enemy and ourselves, that's a short fight. And we're done. We'll find out when we're nowhere near as tough as we thought we were. But when he's got our back, why in the world would we turn and run? What was told to Peter by Yeshua? He said, upon this rock will I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. We've been in Hebrews for how long? 7 years? 7 years? I've been in church for 19 years. I go by how old Shelby is. Bridget a little bit before me. And I have, over the course of almost 20 years, have heard testimonies that just absolutely blow my mind. Not in a good way. Heard people stand up and say, I just want to testify, and I want to thank the Lord, and you know what, I've been under attack all week, and I'm just so beat down, and my hips hurting, and I got a bad knee, and I'm like, who in the world are you giving praise and glory to? Whose team are you on? We all laugh because we've all heard those, right? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
It is not through the power of those testimonies that we are made overcomers. It is through the power of those testimonies. Those two women who witnessed the hand of the Almighty that worked in that young lady's body. They were made overcomers. Dale has graciously just supplied me with audiobooks to listen to that just have done incredible things to increase my faith. And if we had 8 hours that we could gather here, I'd pop one in the CD player, and that's how we would do it. Because you want to hear some incredible testimonies. I mean, Maloney told a testimony of a guy in India or somewhere who had no arm, just a hand sticking out of his shoulder. And there was a woman there who wanted to be involved in ministry, who wanted to support her. She didn't necessarily want to pray for her. And God instructed Maloney, you get that sister to pray for this guy. And she was really timid and, well, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. She was obedient, went forth and prayed. And this hut that they were sleeping in, there was rats running along the rafters and everything else. So she began to pray. Something happened. This guy's hand shot out of his shoulder with a brand new arm attached to it and landed right on the top of her head. And she thought it was a rat that had fallen out of the rafters. Stories like that. Stories about blind receiving sight for the first time in their lives. Brother Maloney said, the guy opened his eyes and saw me for the first time and screamed. And I don't blame him. That was the first thing I ever saw. I'd scream too. Whenever you can take the time to watch videos like this, watch them.
Yes.
When you can listen to audiobooks like that, listen to them. When you can read about the hand of God being active in this day and in this place, do it. We've seen miracles happen here. I shared my testimony a couple of weeks ago. I've been healed of a back problem I could blame my parents on. Can't do that anymore. Instead of saying, it's my parents' fault that my vertebrae, that one vertebrae was all messed up. And I say, it's because of the power of God that it has been made whole. And I'm no longer in pain. We build off of those testimonies. We build, we build, we build, we build. We grow in numbers. We have greater testimonies. That's what I want. Greater things. Greater things. And once we get to that point, once we get to the point to where we are actively working in His gifts, then the enemy's going to be on his heels. And he's going to have his little demons attached to him and say, what do we do? They're at the gates. They're small enough to prepare great power, and greater things than these shall they do. Just as Yeshua prophesied, and just as the Maccabees were doing. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. I think one of the most harmful things that we can do to stop a testimony opportunity is to bully the saint. Spiritual victory comes in many ways. Spiritual victory can come in the form of the enemy just bombarding your mind day after day after day, and just the spirit of oppression. Or it can come through someone in the family, someone at work, that he's working through them. And one way or another, he's going to get you to a place where you feel powerless against it. When that happens, when that coworker is just getting on your last nerve, and he's beginning to dance on that last nerve, just remember it's not him. Because it's not against flesh and blood. This is for people like us, this can be a particularly frustrating time of year. I didn't know it, but everyone in my neighborhood has the last name Griswold. Everyone but us. We scarcely sleep at night for all the Christmas lights in my neighborhood. You know what? Years ago, that would have just got under my nerve. They got Santa Claus in their front yard. And just pagans. You know what? It's I learned a long time ago that choosing that to be as a time to be a Maccabee never ended well. And a lot of times I'll urge people, who are new to the faith, look, if you want to say something about Christmas trees or Christmas or anything like that, don't do it in December. Do it in July. Plant those seeds, give them time to think about it. Because it's not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities of darkness. And we can't remember that we too were once in that place of compromise. For lack of a better term, at one time we were Hellenized Jews. But no, we heard the word of Yeshua. Let anyone who is zealous for the law and a keeper of the covenant follow me. That's what we are. And that's what we're doing. And, it can be, at that point, when we become zealous for the law and a keeper of the covenant, we can become a Maccabee through victories in the spiritual realm, or we can become something horrific by attacking those in the physical realm. I mean, if you see someone throwing lights on their spruce tree outside and you run out with a sword and slay them and say that you're being a Maccabee, no, that's not why he did it. After he did that, he tore the altar down. They didn't go around and start killing people. They fled to the woods. And that's where they went. And what happened was when Antiochus caught wind of what had happened, he attacked on the Sabbath day. Because he knew they wouldn't fight back. He didn't attack Matthias, Judas, and that family, but he attacked those who began to follow. And they had a choice. They said, well, we're going to die in our innocency. And they didn't fight back, and they died in their innocence. Matthias said, this won't happen again. If you attack us on the Sabbath, we will attack you back. Who gets attacked here on the Sabbath? Spiritually or physically? I can't think of a better time to fight back. I can't think of a better time to be on my knees before my king and say, Father, you equip me with weapons of warfare that I need. I've got an enemy that seeks to kill me. But in the end, when we step into eternity, into the marriage supper of the Lamb, let our testimony be, he tried to kill us, we won, let's see.